And I do have a fair amount of mechanical knowledge, but more than that, I have the plucky courage to try and teach myself. Alrighty, so what is next? I am thinking we will look at replacing these exhaust studs. Alrighty, so where are we, Mr. 10mm? What I love about these kits is you can pretty much do everything you need to do with a 10mm spanner. Already I can feel that these threads are just a little bit nasty. So what I do want to point out, let's see if we can get a good angle here. Hello, where's my... look, lighting's not brilliant here. You do have to be careful. They tend to put 2 spring washers on one side and 2 regular washers on the other. So you are going to have to make sure that you take these off. Doing everything one-handed. Spring washer. It's not showing me the springy clippy part because phone camera. Hello. All right, and on this side is our 2 regular washers, which they have been spray painted shut together. Which, as much as I like the black, I just wish they'd take more care in how they prepare the motor before painting. Well, good thing I've got plenty of spare washers. There it is. You can't have too many spare washers. So I had to give those 2 a bit of a tap because they just spray painted over the top of them and the paint had stuck them together. And if you needed further proof that they've painted over this gasket, all you need to do is look at that. It frankly infuriates me that they go to such a small amount of effort to protect the engines. Alright, so there we go. We can see fairly well under there. Now, there is a bit of crap. There's a bit of overspray, I think. In there, but otherwise it does feel fairly smooth. The very, very, very clever engine builders out there. Oh, now that is nasty looking in there. You're not going to be able to see, but the inside of those ports are really badly burred. I will be taking all of this off anyway, but just seeing the state of that now has frustrated me. And you do hear how these are very poorly built motors, but you know what, you just don't want to believe it. You don't want to believe that your motor that you've just bought is in such poor condition. So, it's not a brilliant angle I'm giving you there, but you can kind of see what I'm doing. It doesn't need to be all the way down. We just need room for 2 nuts to go on, and the theory is that I should be able to if I can find my other 10mm spanner, So what we're going to do is we're going to tighten these two down against each other. Now we should be able to use this one to unscrew Alright, so look, I've got the phone currently plugged into the computer, so I can't go far with it. But what I've done is removed the stud there. We're going to remove the other stud there. There we go, it's a better angle. I have seen people just do these with the vice grips, which is fine and dandy if you never want to use them again. But I'm collecting spare parts. I've got 3 of these kits now, and I'd like to maintain as many usable parts as I possibly can. So I'm using that process, which honestly, I've just learnt that. It kind of feels like one of those things they should teach you in school, really, but as it happened, my mechanical shop in high school burnt down after only one term or one semester. So I never got the mechanical education that I really wanted. And I do have a fair amount of mechanical knowledge, but more than that, I have the plucky courage to try and teach myself. Thank you, YouTube University. And of course, the opposite of what we did, tightening them against each other to undo them, just crank them the other way. All right, we've got a spare parts pile happening over here, so down it goes. So I'm just examining that bolt there. One of the things you want to look for, if I can get it to focus, camera focus on this. It's not really focused, it's more focused on my fingers than it is the bolt or the stud. If you've got the lines of the stud or the screw filled up with metal, then that's a sign that you are threading it. And that was rather tight to come out. But luckily, it didn't come out with a handful of little metal filings, which was a sign that things were going to go pear-shaped. And just looking in there now, not that you'll be able to see, but you can clearly see by eyesight, if not by video sight, that both threads in there are intact and in rather good condition. Alrighty. That looks like the cheapest and nastiest metal I think I've ever seen, which is why I've bought a couple of packets of these. 3 cheers for metric threads. Okay. 3 cheers for metric threads. It goes right in. Again, these 25mm little M6s I bought are a little bit too long for the exhaust, so I will have to go out there and fetch me some 20s. Alright, but that's just proving that you can replace those studs with run-of-the-mill hardware. Let's put our washers and our spring washers away. Alright, let's come around to the inlet, which I'm trying to maintain a good camera angle, but also I need to see what I'm doing as well, which can be a tad difficult. Okay. Depending on how these come out, I may replace them or I may not. I have had issues with the entire studs coming out with these little dome nuts on. Which is not what's happened today, thankfully. Looks like they've got... it's weird what they've done there. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. It works until you come across reverse thread. A little break because my phone actually filled up with memory and I had to transfer it. I've just gone ahead and taken the intake manifold off. Now it has come with this fairly ordinary looking cardboard gasket. It's actually stuck itself courtesy of the spray paint. That has got to be one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's so off center. But that gasket versus that shaped hole does not make any sense. So what I might just do is we'll go and find my spare gaskets. So we're going to go ahead and open up these gaskets because, look, I want to replace the exhaust side anyway, and I'm pretty well disgusted at how small that gasket is compared to how large that opening is. That's pure restriction. So what we have here is, that is exhaust, which doesn't fit there. Now that actually does fit on my first motor because it's got the 40mm intakes, and as it happens, that was a perfect size for it. So it just does not fit. It's not doing its job if it's restricting. So what we're going to do is, I decided to be brave and I bought myself a Dremel. Now I've never actually used one before, so we'll just see how we go with that. But what I intend to do is I'll just bolt that down and we'll just grab the Dremel and we'll Dremel out the inside of the gasket there to match the opening. And it looks like we'll have to do the same on the exhaust side. And if we do that, it's not much, but it will open up the breathability of the engine. So gasket, gasket, gasket. I'm going to go ahead and put the bad gaskets in with the new ones. It's pretty easy to see which one's which. And I'll just put those all aside for now because we are not quite ready to start Dremeling things out yet. I bought the Dremel because I noticed how much utter crap was stuck like it had been cast and not polished. Those little bits of engine are going to break off and it's going to damage everything. So if I can clean it up now, well, that's all the better for it. But step one is doing what I did with the exhaust port and removing these studs. I mean, from the word go, you just know that not a great amount of care has been put into assembling these engines, which is why I like to sit here and spend a couple of hours tearing them down. Even if I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking for to begin with. It's a learning process. And if something doesn't look right, chances are that it is in fact not right. At which point, YouTube University is a great resource for people like me.